Imagine losing the greatest hip-hop artist, knowing that you made a mistake, and seeing her go on to become a superstar in the NFL. In addition to all of that, a man who recently served time in federal prison chooses to interrupt her remarks and declare his love for her. Not just any dude, either. A few months ago, Pooh Shiesty was locking down federal prisons. Now, he's out here telling your ex-wife that he wants a shot. The most bizarre aspect is that Offset continues to respond, feel pressured, and harbor sentiments for a lady he hasn't dated in years. Really, this whole thing has cooked Offset. The man acknowledged that he was self-centered, that he cheated, and that he ought to have shown her more respect. He accepted the loss in public. Then Pooh Shiesty gets out of jail, cleans up, gets a whole new swagger, and makes every woman in the nation go crazy for him. And Cardi B is his first target. The arrogance, the nerve, the utter disdain. There is a true story of ego, devotion, obsession, and what happens when two dangerous personalities clash for the same lady behind the jokes and memes. Hey, how are you, family? Greetings from Informed Sokragan. We're going to dissect every aspect of this drama. You'll be speechless by the conclusion of this video, I promise. Now, let's get started. Let me be really honest with you all before we get started. This is more than simply a humorous moment on the internet. There are tears to this scenario. One of the messiest celebrity divorces in hip-hop history involves Offset, a man who is currently legally married to Cardi B. And then there was Pooh Shiesty, a man who had recently been released from nearly 3 years in a federal prison on charges related to drug trafficking and firearms. In a matter of days, he was making remarks about Cardi as if he had nothing to lose. This is the crazy part. In fact, Offset responded in public. That provides you with all the information you require regarding his mental state. This is when things get very hot, though. Pooh Shiesty didn't merely take a silent shot. He did it in public several times. Offset could tell that Cardi had already moved on with her life and was pregnant with another man's child, but he was unable to let it go. This story did not begin on the day Pooh returned home, so let's begin at the beginning. This began much earlier. Check it out then. Pooh Shiesty was incarcerated when he initially expressed his affections for Cardi B. Give it a moment to marinate. The year is 2024. After 7 years of marriage, 3 children, and too many infidelity scandals, Cardi B filed for divorce from Offset in July. Naturally, she uses Instagram Live to interact with her followers, give them an update on her life, and discuss her search for a new flat in New York. Ordinary things, huh? While all of this is going on, someone who is in charge of Pooh Shiesty's social media account, keep in mind that the man is incarcerated in a federal facility, leaves a comment under her live stream that says, "I'm 5 minutes away, baby. Open the door." Family. The man is incarcerated. Nothing is 5 minutes away from him. A concrete wall and a prison officer are the closest things to him, yet the person with the account keys was out here warning Cardi. Pooh is eager to get inside. Did Offset notice it now? Yes, as you are fully aware, he did, and it was only the start. Time travel to October 6, 2025. After spending nearly 3 years of his 5-year sentence, Pushy is released early from federal prison and is out in less than a day. This man locates his phone, opens Instagram, and immediately visits Cardi B's page. A video preview for her new single was just released. And Shy, recently released and still sporting his prison hairstyle, doesn't even give himself a day to breathe and makes a remark. "I love you" in 2 words. Over 10,000 people liked and 400 people responded to that comment. People's understanding of the assignment caused the internet to go completely insane. This man had his priorities straight when he got home. Music is patient. His boys are able to wait. He moved after noticing Cardi's post. This is where things become serious, though. This was not an isolated incident. This dude was reliable. It was a campaign. Now, family, you have to see what Pooh Shiesty's homecoming looked like in order to truly see why he felt brave enough to shoot at a woman like Cardi B. Because this man did not appear to be busted when he returned home. He returned in a different state. Even before he set foot on the ground, the streets were humming. The song had been playing non-stop for 3 years while he was incarcerated, and his name had been ringing. Blood was still hitting back in. The clubs were still using his catalog. Pooh was still remembered. And as soon as he stepped outside, the women reacted in ways that were very insane. Overnight, his social media following surged again. His comments were flooded with women. People were talking about his appearance. He had a new drip. The rapper from Memphis appeared to be a completely different person when he left. Pooh believes that he is new, free, and gaining momentum. Women all around the nation are supporting him, and the internet is applauding him. You have to consider this from his point of view. Why wouldn't he take aim at the game's baddest woman? He is at the top from where he is standing. He has nothing to lose. What could possibly go wrong? She disregards him. Spoiler alert, that's precisely what took place. This is what makes the entire situation both humorous and insightful. Cardi B has never once acknowledged the remarks made by Pooh Shiesty. Nothing, not a like, not a response, not even a subtweet. Pooh is in her comments, declaring his love like a man who did not recently spend 3 years in federal custody, while she is out there enjoying her best life, pregnant with Stefon Diggs's child, releasing her album, Am I the Drama? And winning legal cases. Cardi's silence says it all. She doesn't have that frequency. She's moved on. She's in a very different circumstance. And Pooh is out here trying his hardest for someone who doesn't even realize it. Who did notice, though? Offset. Let me tell you a little bit about Offset family. This man has shown his affection for Cardi in the most obvious and well-publicized way imaginable. And since he at least owns it, I say it with all due respect. However, the actions have been instructive. I want to apologize to you, Cardi. I embarrassed you. I made you go crazy. I was a selfish, messed-up husband. I want to apologize to you, Cardi, the man said in a heartfelt apologetic video he uploaded on Instagram when she initially filed for divorce in 2020. I apologize for embarrassing you and making you appear insane by doing things in which I had no business. You understand what I mean when I say that being a self-centered, dysfunctional spouse means breaking God's covenant, breaking our promise, and breaking your heart. I'm trying to be a better person. That video ended up on his album. He literally turned his feelings for Cardi into a career move, but he was still unable to keep her. In 2024, she files for divorce once more, and Offset is on the Keke Palmer podcast, acknowledging that he should have respected her more and that he made poor choices as a man, like going out. He acknowledged his selfishness and stated, I should have respected her way more. You know what I mean? I made bad decisions as a man, like stepping out. He claimed he had to accept her departure. He said it aloud on a podcast that millions of people listened to, and even after all of that humility, even after eating the L in public, this man is still in legal battles with her. That's why I had to take that on the chin when she left, because I could have been the reason we got so much for our kids to live for. I was being selfish. The truth is that Offset is not over Cardi B, as evidenced by his reported rejection of a $10 million settlement and demand for half of everything, claiming he helped build her brand. On the one hand, he is apologizing for being a bad husband, but on the other, he is demanding her property and her taxes. Offset may never be completely over Cardi B, and as soon as Pooh Shiesty returned home and began publicly pursuing her, his feelings surfaced again. As a result, when Pooh posts that first comment, the I love you, that received 10,000 likes, Offset reacts. But it's not even a big, dramatic reaction. Rather, it's subtle. Subtlety is loud in hip-hop, though. Offset tweets a series of laughing emoticons without any words, calls, or direct answers, yet everyone could understand what those emojis were truly saying. This is funny, they weren't saying. I see you, Pooh, they said. I'm observing. A man who is genuinely over someone does not monitor their social media activity closely enough to notice who is commenting in their mentions. A man who is genuinely unbothered would not have reacted at all. Offset clocked it, Offset responded, and the internet went crazy. This is where things get really intriguing, though, as fans began to wonder if Offset truly wanted to have issues with Pooh Shiesty, because these are not two regular individuals. For those of you who haven't been following, let me tell you the truth about Pooh Shiesty. Born Lantrell Donnell Williams Jr., he is from Memphis, Tennessee, and Memphis doesn't produce soft people. These two men have very real reputations on the streets, and they both know exactly what the other one is capable of. His come-up was quick, his sound was raw, and his reputation was based on the idea that everything he rapped about was real. Then came the federal case that sent him to prison. In 2020, Pooh was involved in a shooting at a hotel in Florida, where a man was shot. He grew up in one of the most violent cities in America, where the line between music and the streets was extremely thin. A judge denied bond for 21-year-old Lantrell Williams, also known as Pooh Shiesty, a well-known rapper who was arrested and accused of shooting a security guard at a gentleman's club in South Florida. According to police, he was performing at King of Diamonds in Miami over Memorial Day weekend when cash was knocked out of his pocket. When the crowd attempted to take it, he brandished his gun and, as he was being escorted out of the club, fired a shot, striking the guard in the ankle. He was charged with aggravated battery, but the case went beyond simple battery charges to become a federal conspiracy case, including drug trafficking and firearms. He entered a guilty plea and received a 63-month sentence. He was sentenced to 63 months, or 5.25 years, for his federal felony of conspiracy to commit a violent crime or a drug offense using a firearm. He served nearly 3 years before being released early. This is not a man who was incarcerated for a minor offense. Rather, he has federal firearms charges on his record. Offset, despite his flashiness and industry clout, is not built the same way Pooh Shiesty is. The streets know the difference, and in hip-hop, that difference matters. Here's where we got to address something that everyone is dancing around, but nobody wants to say directly. A man who has shown a willingness to crash out in real-life situations, not just rap videos. That is precisely the kind of energy that made Offset's little laughing emoji reaction so pointed. There is now a dynamic in this situation that goes far beyond social media jokes. You are legally still connected to Cardi, emotionally still invested, financially still fighting for his peace. And you have witnessed a man like Pooh Shiesty publicly pursue his arranged wife with no hesitation. And Pooh doesn't stop. Even after Cardi posts pictures celebrating her new relationship and is clearly pregnant with Stefan Diggs' child, Pooh continues to be in those comments. He also leaves another under a Miami post where Cardi is celebrating Diggs' birthday. I marked no woman better than you far. This man couldn't help himself after seeing a post about another man. Normally, that would just be humiliating persistence, but Pooh Shiesty isn't like that. This man doesn't fully comprehend the idea of giving up. His entire persona is based on the idea that he doesn't act out of fear, doesn't weigh the consequences like a civilian would, and when he sees something he wants, he goes for it, daring anyone to object. This should have prevented him from carefully considering how he handles this situation, because responding with laughing emojis is one thing. At the end of the day, family, Offset's situation with Cardi is a cautionary tale that plays out in real time every single week on social media. Here is a man who had one of the baddest women on the planet. She was loyal. She had his children. Having a problem with Pooh Shiesty over a woman is actually a whole different conversation. He had to watch her blossom, go into a new relationship with a well-known athlete, drop music, win legal cases, and live her best life after he continually failed to keep the marriage together despite her continuous attempts. On top of all of that, he has to watch Pooh Shiesty, who just got out of federal prison, publicly declare his love for her as if Offset doesn't even exist. That is a particular kind of pain, and no amount of laughing emojis can cover it up. The fact that Offset is still not over this, still disputing the divorce settlement, and still reacting to things involving Cardi, tells you everything. Some people say that time heals everything, but time cannot heal something you refuse to let go of. And despite his tough demeanor and professional standing, Offset has demonstrated to the world that he has not let go of Cardi B. And then there's Pooh. The worst part is that Pooh Shiesty is actually interested in Cardi and isn't doing this to get even with Offset. Additionally, he operates in a universe where he doesn't really consider how his actions affect other people's emotions. This isn't shade, it's just the Memphis way: you see something, you go for it. You let the chips fall, but the fact that Pushy has consistently shown throughout his life that he increases with situations rather than de-escalating or taking a step back to recalibrate makes this very uncertain going ahead. Even though Offset is sensitive, he isn't in a position to truly be Pooh Shiesty over a lady who has already made it clear that she has moved on from him. As a result, Offset replies with emojis and stews in silence. In hip-hop, loyalty, timing, and self-awareness are crucial. Offset had his window with Cardi, and he fights the divorce in court because that's the only arena where he truly has any leverage left. Cardi has moved on, Pooh is still shooting, and Offset is somewhere watching all of this unfold on his phone. He had several windows, and each time he took the decision to close them himself, someone else was outside knocking, and all he could do was watch. Cushy came home with one thought in mind. He was brave. He was consistent and didn't care who saw it. Cardi, on the other hand, moved gracefully, never acknowledged it, never fed the drama, and continued to live. Offset is the cautionary tale in this story because it's human to be sensitive and feel something for someone, but when you allow the entire internet to witness you being pressured over a woman who has obviously moved on, it ceases to be relatable and becomes a lesson. Will Pooh Shiesty ever completely stop? That's the actual question. And what would happen if Cardi ever reacted to him? Knowing Pooh, one syllable from her would drive that man insane. Knowing Offset, it's likely that he would go insane in front of everyone on social media. What do you think about the entire issue, family? Is Offset justified in his emotions? Does Pooh have to pay to pursue a lady who has clearly moved on? Please share your opinions in the comments section below. Check out the video on screen right now for more information that breaks down the true tales behind the biggest dramas in hip-hop. We've got you covered.